Hi everyone, and welcome to the Fishhead Creations podcast, where I pull out one of my interesting knitting projects every time and talk you through the details. My name is Anna. You can find me on Ravelry as Obsti and on Instagram as Caledoniana. I'd really love to hear from you. And well, first of all, just let me say I'm sorry that it took me so long to record again. I didn't plan for it, but we had a gloriously warm October, and well, it really felt more like a late summer than early autumn. But that meant that when I was outside with my horse in the evening, temperatures dropped quite quickly after sunset. So it was just warm and I was overheating and didn't put on enough layers when I was exercising my horse, and then when the sun set and I was waiting for the bus, I got really cold. And too cold apparently, because I did catch a really bad cold. I spent most of last week in bed, and you'll probably still be able to hear it because I still have quite a cough. My ears are still quite stuffed, and yeah, it's slowly going away, but it's taking some time. But here I am back again, and today I thought I'd talk about one of my less successful knitting projects, which is not to say that I don't like the result. It just means it doesn't look anything like it was intended to look, and this is the Beast. The Beast is the Carolyn Hill jumper by the Black Yarns design team. It is supposed to be quite form-fitted, normal length, all over cable jumper, raglan sleeves. This thing is quite cropped for my taste, and as you can see, extremely oversized. You will have seen in the intro that it's almost as wide as my armchair, and you can see I do fit in here. I'm not as wide as my armchair, but the Beast is, which is why I'm referring to it as the Beast. And that was born in conversation with another user on Instagram who had also knit this thing, and hers turned out the same, quite the Beast. So yeah, it's our Beast or our knitted armor, which is good to have sometimes, and I've grown to like it a lot. But at first I was quite disappointed because I didn't intend it to be as oversized, if at all, because I'm not too into oversized jumpers. I feel like they make me look a lot wider than I'm already, because I'm by no means a very small, narrow person, especially in my lower half. So I usually try to emphasize that I indeed have a waist and not try to hide it away. But there are days when you just need a very snuggly layer, and that's when the Beast comes into play. But let's talk about it. The yarn first is again one of my favorites. It's the Finkhof Merino in the undyed grey-brown colorway. I think I used about 400 grams or 1,200 meters for this, which was less than expected, but that might be because it's so much hotter than expected. And at Edinburgh Yarn Fest this year, they had the original sample on display on the Black Yarn stand, and excuse me, I'll try to edit out my two bad coughs. They had the original sample on display at the Black Yarn stand, and it was quite form-fitted, on a mannequin of course, but still. Normal length, nothing cropped. I have no idea where I went wrong with. It might have to do with gauge, probably, maybe. But yeah, let's talk about it from the beginning. This, as most of my jumpers, or at least many, and as is my preference, is knit bottom up. So you knit the body first. It doesn't have any kind of waist shaping, which might be one part of the problem, but it made it a quite easy repetitive knit. I knit through it, on it through the Christmas before last, I think, when we spent quite a lot of time with my boyfriend's family, which is just a crazy bunch of a lot of people. This pattern always has a rest row and a cable row alternating. Well, on the cable rows there's differences in how many cables you actually are cabling with. It's quite easy to memorize, and it's quite easy to read where you are. So yeah, that's what I started with. Usually I do the sleeves first, but I think on this one I did the body first just to get used to the cables. But I don't remember, I'm not sure. Then sleeves are also knit bottom up, and this panel of, I think it's broken seat stitch rib, some kind of broken rib, is where you do the increases. You can see the panel expands quite a bit, and then the cable is just kept intact on the other side. So yeah, under the arms you join it on one needle, start doing the raglan decreases. It's not a very thorough pattern in terms of being hand-holdy, so it just tells you to keep the pattern going until it's eaten up by the decreases. I think most of the time it worked out quite neatly. I could have done one more cable repeat up here, but that's the only thing where I'm not too happy with it, and I still think it works. Then, yeah, somewhere around here you can see the neck is raised quite a lot, so from here on you start working flat instead of in the round, doing a bunch of short rows while keeping the cabling intact. And I'm not sure if it's something I did wrong or if it's intended, but it meant that all the cable crosses took place on the purl rows, which took a bit of brain space to keep the cables in the correct direction because you were cabling from the wrong side. But still, just a bit more thinking to do while knitting, and it was quite easy to do. You can see there's quite a wide strip around the raglan decreases of stockinette stitch, which I quite like because it offsets sleeves from the body a lot. My only problem with this was I think the second time I did short rows, which by now I always do German short rows because I feel like they are the easiest to get to look very neat and not leave holes. But with this one I wasn't sure what to do, so I did wrap and turns, and they did leave quite a few holes because I didn't get the tension right when picking up the wraps. So if I were to do it again, and I don't think I ever knit this again, but on any other kind of garment, I always substitute German short rows for any other method because it's just the easiest and the easiest to do and the easiest to get to look nice. Just personal preference, I think German short rows are just the way to go for me. But I really do like how high the neck is raised in comparison to the front. And then you do a few more rows of just plain stockinette and bind off. I did just a simple standard bind off, I think. They do recommend Elizabeth Zimmerman's sewn bind off to make it extra stretchy, but I think the neck is quite wide already, well, at least in my version. Yeah, it's left to roll over, and I didn't need any more stretchiness in it because it's already quite wide, and I didn't want it to stretch out so much that it falls down my shoulders. What else? Well, yeah, it's wide. It's very, very wide. I think I would fit in here even if I took away the outermost cable crossing on each side, or both of them. So up to here, and it would still be quite wide. It did grow with wearing, but it was very wide and oversized from the beginning. And I did manage to get the sleeves long enough because we've talked about it. I don't like short sleeves. These are alright. These are longer, which is better. But that meant I had to add a few more cable repeats to the recommended length in the first place. And I knew I had to do that for the sleeves. I wasn't too sure. It was one of my earlier jumper projects, so I wasn't too sure how long I would need the body. They did recommend how long to knit the body in the pattern, but I felt it was a lot shorter than I would want it to be. So I already added 2 or 3 cable repeats to the body, and it's still very, very cropped. When I put it on, it hits around my belt, so around the upper end of my jeans, which is shorter than I would like it to be. But it just means I have to wear a quite long shirt that I can tuck into my jeans underneath. which I always do in winter anyway. And well, I wouldn't wear it if it's extremely cold just because it doesn't cover my bum. But other than that, as long as I'm just lounging on the sofa under a blanket or something, it's wonderful. And it's really nice and soft and cozy, and I love this yarn. And every time I put it on, I want another jumper made from this yarn. So in that regard, I quite like it. But yes, it would need to be a lot narrower, a lot. You can see just how much wider than I am it is. And I really want another cable jumper. It's one of my next projects on my list. Maybe the Kildalton cardigan by Kate Davies, but I really cannot bring myself to knit a flat garment. So I might just make something up myself. I have no idea what gauge this is intended to be. I didn't ever measure because it's cables and I didn't know where to measure, and I just couldn't be bothered. I just couldn't. So I just went with the recommended needle size, which I think was a 4mm. I have already knit this yarn in color work and plain stockinette on 4.5mm, and it looks fine. And I think it was just slightly denser than what I had used before for the yarn. But again, no idea. Not the slightest. I think I used 4mm. I have no idea what the gauge is. I didn't measure because it's so many different patterns that, well, it wouldn't say much anyway. And it's okay. But it's not what I was going for when I first started this. Which is why I really need another cable jumper. That's what I was going for when I knit this 1.5 years ago, or almost 2 years ago. But I like it. It's nice and warm and cozy, and it can also double as a blanket. I'm sorry, that's just another cuffing fit. I would have edited it out here, so if the video jumps a bit, that's why. Right now, I really don't have much on my needles. I have the thistle jumper that I still need to chart 340 stitches for. I have my unicorn ready, I have my lion ready, but I have to put them together and chart. And I'm working on a cardigan for my mum, which is knit flattened in pieces and I don't like it, but it's only one more sleeve to go and then the button band, so not too much work to do anymore. And she will do the seaming herself. I just can't bring myself to do that. I hope she will actually do it, but that's her problem then. So I'm really already dreaming about my next jumper project, which really needs to have cables because I want something that fits the way my Carrot Hill was intended to fit. So if you have any recommendations on well, cable jumpers, preferably knit bottom up seamless, but I do it top down as well. I just think most cables look better when you knit them bottom up. Please let me know. I need something that goes along with this. And I'd love to use this yarn, which is a sport weight, but it works at a wide range of gauges, so if it's fingering weight up to worsted, just let me know. I would love your pattern recommendations. And I would love your comments and replies and just starting to talk about this. Yeah, I think that's it again from me for this week. You will hear my voice is going away already. I can't really talk any longer anyway. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye. Soft kitty, warm kitty, little ball of fur. These two are causing me to stay awake all night right now, every night, because Loki has decided the only place he can sleep is right on top of me. And Solveig has decided she needs all my blanket. So there's always some part of me sticking out and being cold, and some part of me being uncomfortable. Thanks a lot, guys.